Yet your people say the way of the Lord is not just, when it is their own way that is not just.
That is Ezekiel 33, verse 17. Welcome to Reform Labs, where we do not believe every spirit, but test the spirits to see whether they are from God. For many false teachers have gone out into the world. My name is Kanoa Benz, and this is our Gateway Theology, where we want to get you into the door of different theology topics. Kind of like we want to just be at least the starting ground to it, or like what is said around for stuff, the gateway. And we hope that we could do that. But today we are talking about, and we are happy to be talking about, we are praising God to be talking about, and excited to talk about the SB 356, the abolition bill that is going to be, has a hearing on May 3rd at 9:30 a.m., I think. But we are praising God for that. Christians, you need to be praying about this bill going forward. And Christians, we need to be out there, right? Because this stuff is important. But before we get into that and really start talking about it, let me, of course, introduce who we have here today. The man in the chair, you know him, the man with the beard of John Calvin, as said so by James White himself, the captain, Adrian Cookson. Adrian, how are you doing today? You see that smile on my face because you got that split cam working perfectly.
I'm doing what I can to make you happy and whatnot. So how am I doing?
You know what I didn't do though? I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't open the can. That's what I was like, because opening the can of worms causing problems for people.
Yes. I'm doing better than I deserve, by the way.
I don't care. No. No.
Wow.
And
wow.
we all
he
are.
went there.
But also, how are you? Are you excited about this bill? Because I know when you were reading it, you were like getting excited.
Oh yes.
Because you didn't know about it. I'm a terrible friend, and I didn't like I've known about it for like a week or so or whatever. Yeah. Because Pastor Brian from Whitewater's Christian Church down in Fredericktown was the one who told me about it.
Nice.
The word is getting out, I guess, through text, which is unfortunate. Well, we just had a Shazam moment, like the elevator where it does all the weird things that just happened on my screen. Sorry, that was distracting. But anyway, so I got the text from it, and I didn't tell Adrian about it until today when I'm like, hey, I was like, we're gonna talk about this, and then he's like, oh, okay. I was like, do you know? No, okay, well, read it.
Yeah.
Before we do this in like an hour, go ahead and read it.
I did a little bit of reading, amongst other things for this. But yeah.
But were you not? So that people know that I ain't just lying. But you were excited.
Oh, yeah.
It was enjoyable to watch you get excited reading about it because you're reading the words that they use, and you were like, this is awesome. They did a fantastic job on writing that bill. And I don't know about you, but I'm ready to talk about it if you're ready to talk about it.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
All right, well, let's get into that. And again, we had to talk about this. I don't know if it was just on Facebook because it was kind of when we were first starting out. But we had a talk that we did on, I think we titled it something like Theonomy in Missouri, or Theonomy in the Culture of Missouri's Culture of Death.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's on there or not, but that's okay because we're going to be redoing some stuff to make sure that all of our stuff is on YouTube.
It's there somewhere.
But anyways, we're going to be talking about something similar. So I was just pretty much just using it as a reference that if somebody, you guys might have heard this, because we were talking about the death penalty in Missouri and how the death penalty is actually given to us. The capital punishment was given to us by God. And so Christians do not need to fear that law and the laws of God, but we need to embrace them because God knows what he's talking about. And so with this bill, Christians, this is a bill that you definitely need to be in support of because this is as Christian of a bill as it comes from reading it. And read it for yourself. Adrian, you said you had something to show them how to like get on there and find it just by doing a simple Google search.
Yes.
You have that? If
yes.
you're ready for that. If not, I could keep
I was getting
chit-chatting.
stuff kind of straightened out on my phone for references.
Okay.
But yes, let me. Sorry, guys. From net. There we go. All right, so this is.
Pulled it up. I wanted to
well,
show,
yeah.
You're doing it wrong.
Let's get this zoomed in. So We can read. They can read. But if you guys are curious how to find this, just simply go to Google. We recently searched it up, so you can do Missouri 356. You can also see some of the other searches we've done.
Don't ask why the Starbucks drink was a search in there.
I mean, you can ask, but
we were wondering why they named the cups the way they do because it's weird and wrong.
actually, no. It was when Mattia was doing a Starbucks run, and she went.
That you were trying to look up your drink.
Yeah,
my wife knows my drink.
Yes.
I don't have to tell her.
So there is the SB. So it's basically the first search result provisions relating to. So just select that, and then you got the bill summary. And if you want to actually view all this gloriousness,
and you should,
yes,
so you know what you are pushing for.
Up here at the top left, right underneath the Missouri Synod, you'll select full bill text, and then you'll select this option here in the middle, introduced, and it'll take you straight to this.
And if I'm not mistaken, Senator Mike Moon is the one who is putting this forward. So prayers for him, and may God bless that man for having the courage and boldness to actually push forward this bill and
sponsor Moon right there.
Yeah, and to push for God's law, to establish God's law in Missouri, how it should be done. All right, so Christians, you need to. So make sure you, if anything, write to him, email to him, call and encourage him, tell him thank you for doing this, because this is and there's a lot of abolitionists that have been working for this. A lot of post-mill brothers have been pushing for this thing. You could tell in the writing on there. We're reading that. I'm like, that's, there's got to be a lot of post-mill guys influenced in that. So there's my post-mill cage stage reference for it. Tony the other day, he goes, Kano, he's like, you were the mayor of the cage stage.
Wow.
I was like, wow.
The mayor.
I was like, well, you know what? No.
What an honor.
Yeah, right. So I wanted to kind of get into that, but beforehand, okay, so one, why should we care as Christians about this? Like, if you're thinking like, okay, we'll let those guys handle it. We won't handle it, or if you're thinking like, or why do for people in Missouri are probably confused and going, isn't abortion all? So what's the punishment for someone who does the abortion? You know what I mean? And that is what we weren't seeing that was clear. But with this bill, as we're gonna go through and show, it defines that, it makes it perfectly. And what we are saying, here's just an easy summary if you're confused about it. What we're saying is the babies in the womb have the same equal protection as every other human being in the state of Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's what we want. All right, it doesn't matter if you're a 2-year-old, a 50-year-old, a 30-year-old, a 90-year-old, etc., or a baby in the womb.
Right.
If you are a human being made in the image of God, you have the same equal rights as everyone else in the state of Missouri.
Yes.
The reason why I keep saying that is because it's not the same in Illinois. That's why we go out there and preach, call them to repentance, and that's why we want churches to be bold enough out there. We need a church in Illinois to start doing this, and if you are one out there and need help, contact us, because we are looking for a church that's bold enough and willing to do something about what's going on in their state. Now, for Christians who are saying, so just so you know, this is why we're pushing this. It's not over in Missouri, but this will do it. And then we want to, but it's not over for us, okay? So Christians don't think, okay, it's done, now we can move on. No, because you also have just less than an hour away from where we are, just across the river in Illinois, there is still babies being murdered. Here's the thing is, around the states, they are still going to travel to these states that are
oh my goodness
this. And we will, we see it all the time. Texas license plate, Kentucky license plates, New Jersey. So we just see random one, which is weird. Why are you here? Go to New York, you crazy person. Or here's a thought: don't murder your baby.
Yep.
But anyway, so, and this is kind of why, okay? Because this is happening in our country. Okay, this is what I want you to hear on this, okay? This is in Leviticus 20, okay? Leviticus 20.
Sorry.
Adrian's over here making a clicking sound, and so I'm like, stop it. This is what I have to deal with. All right, Leviticus chapter 20. I was just giving you guys some time to get there. Verse 1, starting at verse 1. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, say to the people of Israel, any one of the people of Israel or of the strangers who sojourn in the land in Israel, who gives any of his child to Moloch, shall surely be put to death. The people of the land shall stone him with stones. Verse 3, I myself will set my face against that man and will cut him off from among his people, because he has given one of his children to Moloch, to make my sanctuary unclean and profane my holy name. Pay attention to this. Verse 4, and if the people of the land do at all close their eyes to the man when he gives one of his children to Moloch, and do not put him to death, then I will set my face against that man and against his clan, and will cut them off from among their people, him and all who follow him in the whoring after Moloch. All right. So do you see what's going on? If we turn our eyes to this, if we say, well, that's just happening in Illinois. We did it in Missouri. Okay, it's still in our country.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So we need to push. So it doesn't stop in Missouri. What we do is now Missouri, now we don't do it by force, because people go, are you saying we need to go over there? No, it's silly. We do it by the preaching of God's word.
Right.
Okay, so that's why we're out there. We head on the weekends. We head over to Illinois and we start preaching there. That's what's going to change. Because people sometimes, and we're going to talk about this, that people are like, okay, well, we don't change law, we change hearts. Like the one girl in the commercial, why not both? And we need to do both, okay? Because how are we to follow all that Jesus commands? Okay, just thinking here. How are we to follow all of that Jesus commands if we don't put those laws in our country? There's many commands in the books of the law that we are unable to follow because of the way that we structured our government.
Right.
All right. So there we need to encourage the governors to change these laws, and that's what we are supposed to do as Christians, because we talked about in our Bible study, if you're following that, under week 7 of what we're talking about with God's law, is that the purposes of God's law is, one, it restrains evil. Okay, it restrains the wicked, and that's what we want. We want to restrain the wicked. Why? So that we can continue to preach. We're not trying to get ourselves beat, all right? This is not we sit here and go, oh, Christians do really well under persecution. Yeah, praise God, all right? But we don't sit here and look for a beating. We don't go down an alley and go, I'm a Christian, somebody punch me. No. Okay, we want to enforce, because we want to uphold God's law. We want to restrain evil. Why? Because that protects the innocent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We are loving our neighbor. So while we are changing hearts, a baby's not getting murdered in the womb. Okay, Christians?
Right.
Okay? So while we are preaching the gospel, we want laws to be established so that while we are preaching gospel, we don't have to worry about or have to stop. Because here's the thing is, while we change, yes, we change hearts to the preaching of the word. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Or even better, God changes the hearts.
Right.
We are faithful to what is said. So I don't know why people say that. We change hearts, not law. No. All right. God does it all. All right.
Yeah.
God changes the hearts. We are faithful to what he says, and we preach. Now, in doing so, we also push that kings uphold. That's the whole point of separation of church and state in the Bible. And that's what we're going to talk about coming up in tomorrow's Bible study. Okay. We're going to talk about that church and state and what that actually looks like.
Yeah. The church has a specific role. The government has a specific role.
Yes.
So.
And the job of the church is not to be the government.
No.
But to tell the government when it's stepping out of line and not following or obeying what God says and what he commands in his law.
Yeah.
So we are to tell them, say, hey, just like what we're doing now with this bill. We're saying, hey, Missouri, you guys are doing well, okay? But we need you to now uphold God's law and to give the same protection, to do it right. And that's what we do on that one. We point to God's law and how morality works in there. And and here's the thing is, okay? In Exodus chapter 21, okay, so we get it. We talked about this before. Where does it say that you shouldn't get an abortion or murder a baby in the womb? Okay, well, that's simple. In the 10 Commandments.
Right.
You shall not murder, or how it's said, and some people like when we say like this, and I'm fine with saying it like this: you shall not kill. And then I know the argument that comes up: shall not kill. Okay, well, you're pro death penalty though. You're pro this. That's killing. Okay, yes, thou shalt not kill. That is the 10 Commandments are a summary.
Yep.
Of the law. So let's go into the law and what defines that. Okay, so we could define that easily. All right, here's what God says on murder, real quick. Just run through it. Oh no, I clicked the button. Okay. Starting at Leviticus 24, verse 17. Okay, whoever takes a human life shall surely be put to death. Okay, so it's showing death penalty on there. Okay, this is why we justify that. All right. And then Deuteronomy chapter 19, verse 11. But if anyone hates his neighbor and lies in wait for him, premeditated, you see how this is defined? And attacks him and strikes him fatally so that he dies, and he flees into one of these cities, then the elders of his city shall send him out from there and hand him over to the avenger of blood so that he may die. Your eyes shall not pity him, but you shall purge the guilt of the innocent blood from Israel so that you may so it may be well with you. Okay, here's the whole point. Why do we want to make sure abortion is banned and it is done correctly? Is because God blesses. He says he will bless nations that obey and follow his law.
Right.
Okay, and he says he will turn his face against or give wicked rulers to nations who don't. So if you wonder why we have wicked rulers, then it's time to get out there and start pushing.
We are getting what we deserve.
Yeah. Literally, God says. And this is what we get for so many years of Americanized Christianity, teaching that we can unhitch from the Old Testament, that we don't need God's law. When God himself said in John chapter 14, verse 15, that if you love me, you will keep my commandments. And the same God also says in Matthew chapter 5, okay, he says, I did not come to abolish the law or the prophets, but fulfill them. Okay, and fulfill, as we already talked about if you watch our Bible study, is not I didn't come to get rid of the law, but fulfill them and get rid of them. No, that wouldn't make sense. So another one that you could make sense if you need to make sense of fulfillment is establish the law in its correct context in the new covenant where it was intended to be. All right, another verse. Back in Exodus 21, verse 14. But if a man willfully attacks another to kill him by cunning, you shall take him from my altar that he may die. Okay? So you see you see how they define murder and how they define the punishment for murder. Now, okay? So somebody goes, okay, but it doesn't say a child in the womb or the baby. Okay, let's see about that.
The Bible actually defines where life begins. Do you want to cover that, or I got three verses.
Which one were you going to? Or do you have Exodus chapter 21, verse 22 through 25?
No, I have two from Psalm and. All right,
go ahead with yours. Get your cam on there so everybody can see your face, and I'll just take a drink here.
Oh, take a drinky poo
from the pineapple.
The can in the pineapple cup. That's funny. Pinky out. Pinky out. All right, so this is from New Testament. So for those that say, well, life, it's someone that is already outside the womb. It's just a clump of cells inside the womb. It can't do anything, can't act, what have you. So we got Luke. This was, oh shoot, it's verse 41 of some chapter in Luke. Oh, okay, Luke 1:41, sorry. And when Elizabeth heard the greeting of Mary, the baby leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. If anything,
so we could see the right off the bat that
we got some action going on.
Okay, yeah, we can see a baby leaping for the joy of Jesus. Okay, so they can understand things. All right, next one.
This is going to be Psalm 139, verse 13. For you, and this is a famous one that people utilize as well. For you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. So there's a formation happening. There is a person from that moment of conception. There is no qualifier in regard to time here either. There's no qualifier. God doesn't give any type of qualifier as to the amount of elapsed time that a fetus, Latin for baby, Latin for offspring, there's no qualifier in regard to the amount of time that has elapsed that a fetus has been in the womb. That at that point, then it becomes a human. At that point, it then becomes a person. There's no qualifier of time.
Moment of conception.
So it's for you formed my inward parts. You knitted me together in my mother's womb. And then another one from Psalm. From the book of Psalms, we have Psalm 22, verse 10. On you was I cast from my birth, and from my mother's womb you have been my God. So this is in regard to ruler, king, the one that I should devote my time, the one I should seek to honor and glorify. You have been my God, not just creator. Yes, creator, but not just creator, but my God, my ruler.
Yeah.
My maker. Because if you were to think it in regards to creator, rocks are created, but rocks are not persons. They have no action. They have no moral ought. They have no...
A rock has being. Like, I can throw it at you and you'll feel it.
Yes.
But it's like what we explained to the Mormons, the differences between... A rock has being.
Right.
All
So there's a difference between person and being, yes.
Yeah, you will feel it. But if I look at the rock and call it stupid, and I say, you're a dumb rock, it's not going to be hurt by that.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, a little pebble flies. All right, so and there's many other verses that talk about that we preach all the time at the clinics. We say God says that the baby is a gift for you, and the baby is a gift for you in the womb. Jesus started out in the womb, so that should be very clear. Now, here's this, okay, in God's law. Exodus chapter 21, verses 22 through 25. When men strive together and hit a pregnant woman so that her child comes out, but there is no harm, the one who hit her shall surely be fined, as the woman's husband shall impose on him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. Case by case law. But if there is harm, then you shall pay life for life, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, hand for a hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, and stripe for stripe. And so some people try to argue and go, okay, but how do we know it's not talking about the mom there and not the baby? That if the baby dies, how do they know it's not talking about the mom? Because it already talked about if somebody lying before that, if somebody's lying in wait and strikes that person. So they already lay that out multiple times, and you'll see multiple places where it talks about if somebody attacks a woman and she does not yell, and if she yells for help, but no, he can hear her, she died, life.
Right.
So it talks about this already. So
but even regardless, life for life, if the mother dies and for whatever miraculous reason the baby lives, not likely, but still life for life.
But they were just talking about, okay, so what happens if the
child falls out?
And here's harm. Also, in the 1500s, the reformer John Calvin also talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what he said. He quotes the verse, 22, if men strive and hurt a woman, and he says, this passage at first sight is ambiguous, for if the word death only applies to the pregnant woman, it would not have been a capital crime to put an end to the fetus, which would be a great absurdity. For the fetus, though enclosed in the womb of its mother, is already a human being, and it is almost it is almost a monstrous crime to rob it of the life which it has not yet begun to enjoy. If it seems more horrible to kill a man in his own house than in a field, because he's quoting that verse that talks about the premeditated murder.
Mm-hmm.
In his own house and field, because a man's house is a place of most secure refuge, it ought surely to be deemed more atrocious to destroy a fetus in the womb before it has come to light. On these grounds, I am led to conclude without hesitation that the words, if death should follow, talking about what we just read, the verse that we just read, must be applied to the fetus as well as to the mother.
Right.
All right, that's John Calvin's commentary on Exodus chapter 21, verses 22 through 25. If you want to go check that. So as you can see, this is not something that we're bringing up that is something new.
Right.
Okay, this has been dealt with for years before.
Right. And even accidental killing is covered.
Right. Yeah.
And
that's,
either Leviticus or Deuteronomy
this
too.
Bill. All right, because that's the nice thing that they brought up there.
Yeah, they added an exclusion for they added a clause, if you will. For accidental
you want to
killing.
look that up real quick and get that ready on the screen, and have it highlighted for them to see. Tell me when you're ready on that one. Is it still up over here though?
Yeah, you're good to go.
All right, cool. So I'll just be seeing weird things happening up there. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, what you're seeing there is what they're seeing too. So
cool. All right, so I just want to know if I can make faces at them or not.
If you want to, go for it.
No, I'm good. Okay, so again, with the things, will we change hearts, not laws? No. Again, no. All right, one, we don't change the hearts. God changes the hearts. We are faithful to what he says, and we need to teach. Jesus said, if anyone relaxes the least of these laws, that's not it, and teaches others to do the same, that they don't have to obey these laws. What did Jesus say? He said they will be considered least in the kingdom of heaven. But
right,
whoever
so I got
does
the
them
accidental thing, but if you want to keep going,
whoever does them and teaches them will be considered great. And Christians, we want to be considered great.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if you have that ready, go ahead. Let's show them, because this is also something that needed to be, because everybody always asks about when dealing with like these abolition bills and stuff like that, and dealing with the equal rights, so that the one who that means the parents who are going to get the abortion will be held accountable, and also obviously the abortionist, because you don't get to hire an assassin and get away with it. You get in trouble for doing that thing. And if you're trying to take the abortion pill, then now you are the one who's turning into the assassin. But here's the thing is, because everybody always asks, and I hear it all the time from my unbelieving friends, because they always say, well, what about it gets mixed up? That people are going to mistake, it's all going to be slumped in together, that a miscarriage is going to be counted as if a mom's having a miscarriage, then she will be considered as having an abortion, be charged with murder. No. And they made sure that they explain how that works in this law, and they define it just how God's law does.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have that up there? Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So we got the conduct which would otherwise constitute any offense is justifiable. So they're talking about the death of the child in the womb. So conduct which would otherwise constitute any offense is justifiable and not criminal when it is a lawful medical procedure performed by a licensed physician, performed on a pregnant female to avert the death of the pregnant female. So again, only women can be pregnant, by the way. So I'm glad they added that.
Yeah, a pregnant female.
Yes, or that results in that results in the accidental or unintentional death of the unborn child the pregnant female is carrying, and performed when all reasonable alternatives to save the life of the unborn child are unavailable or were attempted. Oh, I can't even talk. Attempted.
Dude, it's rare that I help you out with pronouncing a word, but I'm happy to do so.
Unsuccessfully before the performance of the medical procedure. So this is a case in regard to accidental death of the child.
Right, and so so do you see the definition, the differences?
Yes.
Okay, the intention is going in there to what? To save the child.
Yes.
Right? To save the child, to save the mom.
Yes. So
right?
if there is a situation where the life of the mother
right.
is at risk, is legitimately at risk, it then becomes a rescue procedure.
Yes.
It becomes a rescue operation. So they try to save both.
Right. And unfortunately, in some rescue cases, you can't save everybody out of the burning building. You can't save everybody trying to fall. But the goal there is to preserve life.
It's very similar to, I've heard this analogized like this. It's very similar to a car that just went off a bridge into a river. You're there unseen, and you dive into the water. You have 2 occupants, and really you can only save 1. The amount of time that's allotted to you can only save 1. It's a rescue operation. So at that point, it's a choice.
And unfortunately, with being in a fallen world, we do have to deal with situations to where, while we try to, and Lord willing, we do succeed.
Right.
Despite all the odds, we still. That's why I like that they said they try. Okay.
Yes.
I don't know where it went, but where it says that they do whatever they can to try to save the baby. I think it was on the lower part.
Yeah. Attempted successfully before the performance of the medical procedure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go down real quick to there. Highlight 4.
Okay. Performed when all reasonable alternatives to save the life of the unborn child are unavailable.
I mean, that is well written. So nobody can say, because that was a problem with at the Missouri Southern Baptist convention that we were at and voting for that to be in their stuff.
Right.
To help push this along. People were worried about that. So they're like, what about this? What about that? And it's no. Okay, the goal is to save the life. And if they try to bring up the case of rape,
yep.
Or incest. Jeez, now I can't speak either.
Incense.
Yeah, I know, incense. Yeah, all right. Rape or incest.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, what did we just read at the beginning? Okay, that Ezekiel 33.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you were saying that God's way is not right. Okay, when it is our way that's not right.
Right.
The culture, what they say is, give the death penalty to the baby instead of the rapist. That needs to be changed.
Yep.
All right, the rapist gets the death penalty, not the baby. The baby didn't do anything. Okay, and don't come up with some kind of weird explanation I've heard before when we were, it's probably on camera somewhere when we were out there preaching. I get people saying some weird stuff when it comes to that stuff. The baby has rapist blood, so it'll grow up wanting to rape. That's not how it works. Go even read any atheist book on genetics, and it's not going to say that.
Plus, you got God saying the child shall not suffer the sins of the father.
Right, exactly. So, all right, so we have that stuff. That was good on there. The other thing, go to where it talks about the bill saying the image of God.
Oh, yes.
Look at this right off the bat. This is how our bills should be written in America.
Yeah, so this is awesome.
God honoring.
So this starts out, this section shall be known and may be cited as the Abolition of Abortion in Missouri Act.
Highlight that.
So this is awesome right here. Acknowledging the sanctity of innocent human life created in the image of God.
Yep.
It is the intent of the General Assembly to 1. Follow Article 1, Section 2 of the Missouri Constitution, which provides that all constitutional government is intended to promote the general welfare of the people, that all persons have the natural right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and I love this part, and the enjoyment of the gains of their own industry. This is totally against socialism. This is free market. This is free market right here. This is talking about you work for it. Whatever gains that you get for your hard labor, you get to enjoy on your own. That's for you to decide what to do with, not for anyone else. And the government's role.
Christian.
And the government's role here. Now keep in mind that the government's role is general welfare of the people, that all persons have a natural right to life. So the government's role is to protect the enjoyment of the gains of their own industry.
Right. It is also, and this is why, again, knowing God's law and how we do this, we have, and I'll, of course, share this at the end, too. We have books and stuff like that that I can show you on here. And what was the other one? It talked about pretty much brought in like a separation.
Oh, yeah,
church
and
state.
Opportunity under the law, that to give security to these things is the principal office of the government. So this is like first and foremost, and also chief design.
And I don't want to get too much into this right now
because
I want
what
to
the
save
government was created for.
Right. And again, yeah, and I don't want to get too much into this and teach this because we're going to be talking about this tomorrow and teaching this tomorrow. So if you want to know more about separation of church and state, which was created by God,
yes,
and is a Christian concept, All right, it was the Christians that ruined that concept and gave it to our enemies to use against us, which was foolish. But Christians, let's get that back, so that we can start having our country blessed again and not be spitting at God and having him turn his back on us and cursing us and giving us wicked rulers. Let's not have that, because again, it's Christ or chaos, and we're tired of the chaos, and we hope you are too.
Yeah. And I like this part in regard to the defining of human life, because if we go back up here to this point number 2, it's the intent of the General Assembly to follow Article 1, and then also in accordance or pursuant to Section 1.205. So it is the intent of the General Assembly to acknowledge on behalf of the unborn child at every stage of development all the rights, privileges, and immunities available to other persons, citizens, and residents of this state. To follow the Constitution of the United States, which requires that no state shall deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. To fulfill such constitutional and statutory requirements by protecting the lives of unborn persons with the same criminal and civil laws protecting the lives of born persons by repealing provisions that permit willful prenatal homicide or assault. So this is, you guys can go here and, like I said,
go up and read on this.
Yeah, you can read on all this.
This
is awesome.
As Christians, this is something we need to get behind, and we need to be out there. And it's going to happen May 3rd. Okay, May 3rd, 9:30 a.m.
And we're looking to go up there and support.
And Lord willing, we will be out there supporting, and we're going to try and maybe do some live streams and stuff, and try to film what's going on out there, so that you guys can see. But don't rely on that, because we need a show face and we need to be out there. But if you can't because you are stuck at work or whatever, then hopefully we'll have some stuff for you to watch so you can see. And then we need to be better about planning this stuff ahead of time and more. I admit I failed on this, of getting the word out faster, to make sure that we are out there in support of stuff like this. And we need to back people like Mr. Mike Moon, Senator Mike Moon, who are pushing that these laws from God and that establish God's law in there. And here's for the people who are saying, because this just kind of came in my head, because it's some of the arguments that we always see and receive are, well, non-Christian people won't follow Christian laws. They already, my answer is always saying, they already do.
Yes.
We have laws that say don't murder.
Yeah.
Right? It's restraining evil, okay? Because if you think logically, if there was no law for murder, how many people would be more willing to do it? Okay?
Exactly.
If there was no law for rape, how many more people would do it? Okay? We uphold this because God uses the law to restrain evil.
Yeah.
Now, people will break the law, but that's why God also held punishments, so that we can demonstrate what happens if you break these laws, and to give a true justice to society. Okay, right now society's screaming for justice. This is why you have them saying, no, we need justice now. We need this done now. We need this done our way. No, don't let death penalty. They need to be life in prison because they're escaping death. We only believe that in society because we think we don't believe the God of the universe will do what is right. That was always the thing of why we would want to perform the capital punishment on the laws that it's required of, is because we stopped believing that the God of the universe will be just. Okay, and we said, no, we'll take justice into our own hands, and instead now we fail. And when we try, again, like we talked about in our Bible study before, that when we try to take the place of God, when we try to do things, we fail. And we end up doing what that Ezekiel 33 verse 17 passage says, that we start saying, the way of the Lord is not just, when it is our own way that is not just. We are the ones who are not perfect. God is perfect, and God knows how should be done, and he gave us the law to know how to do this, to know how to love our neighbors correctly, and to restrain evil. And so Christians, this is why we got to back these laws. And for those who keep saying all this weird stuff like, no, this will happen later when Jesus comes back. No. Okay? Because here's the thing is, the law, it's what we need to be doing for this stuff is going for this is because I'm sorry, I was like losing my thought for a second, but we desperately need this in America and as Americans, because the scripture, it's the whole world, as scripture says, is waiting for God's law to be established. Okay, it is waiting. Okay, this is not something that happens when Jesus returns, but but this will happen before Jesus returns. That's that post-mill teaching. And here's why. I know I plug in. All right, but here's what the law is for. Okay, so who is the law for? Okay, here's what 1 Timothy chapter 1 verse 8 says through 11. Sorry, 8 through 11. 1 Timothy chapter 1 8 through 11. Now we know that the law is good if one uses it lawfully, understanding this, that the law is not laid down for the just, but for the lawless and the disobedient, for the ungodly and sinners, for the unholy and profane, for those who strike their fathers and mothers, for murderers, the sexually immoral men, the sexually immoral, men who practice homosexuality, enslavers, liars, perjurers, and whatever else is contrary to sound doctrine, in accordance with the gospel of the glory of the blessed God, with which I have been entrusted. That's Paul talking to Timothy. Okay, so you don't get the law apart from the gospel, and you don't get the gospel apart from the law.
Right.
All right, they are together on this. The Great Commission: go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I commanded of you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that is part of the Great Commission. Okay, that is the gospel. The gospel is how they are saved. Okay, now they're saved. Now what? Now they just go on their own? No. God then gave us his law to know how to convict us of sin, to convict us of, to show us the need for Christ. And not only that, to restrain evil and to teach us how, to define how we are to love our neighbor. And like I said, this is why we need to do this, all right? This is, like I said, we desperately need this in America. And not just America, the whole world. And as Scripture says, because the coastlands are waiting. Isaiah chapter 42, 1 through 4. Behold my servant, whom I uphold, my chosen, in whom my soul delights. I have put my spirit upon him. He will bring forth justice to the nations. He will not cry aloud or lift up his voice or make it heard in the streets. As a bruised reed he will not break, and a faintly burning wick he will not quench. He will faithfully bring forth justice. He will not grow faint or be discouraged till he has established justice in the earth, and the coastlands wait for his law. Dun, dun,
Wow.
dun, dun. And again, all right,
Awesome.
and there's that stuff, and I can get into the end times belief of that all, of Jesus' favorite Bible verse, all right? Jesus' favorite Bible verse, that's Psalms 110, verse 2, or then it's I believe that was the right one. Now I'm going on memory. But that he says that, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool. Okay, Jesus is right now sitting at the right hand of the Father, all right? And he says, sit until this happens. Then he comes. All right, so sorry, there was another plug-in for you guys. But here's something that you could get behind. Christians, if you don't have the end times, you should still be for this. Why? Because Jesus already says, as I said before in John chapter 14:15, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. Christians.
Right.
If there's anything, come on. So, yeah. That's, what else did you have on the... All of a sudden, I was just like, yeah, rant over.
Well, we totally forgot to do something in the beginning.
I know. I already remember that one, too.
Yeah.
That's okay. I saw that on my notes. I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
That's okay. But
they'll forgive us.
What did we have anything else that we wanted to show on that, Bill?
Nothing stuck. I mean,
Right,
I didn't get much chance.
Also, Christians, if you want to, I know how we'll flow into this. All right, Christians, if you want to learn more about this, these books are extremely helpful that we have going over here. This one by Kenneth Gentry, this was my favorite, God's Law Made Easy. as a beginner. And then again, you have Greg Bonson and his book on theonomy. That was fantastic if you're wanting to go into more deeper dive. But a lot of these are just good intros because Greg Bonson, again, by this standard. So those were good intros. Ethics and God's Law, another one. And then it gets deeper from there. And then if you have our book cam / spider cam, throw that up there. Please.
Yeah. Sorry, I was reading the SB.
Please. All right. Awesome.
It takes a few moments to click around.
Here's some more. You can see these are some thick books. You have
and you
again,
got one
Rush
little skinny
Duty.
boy in there.
Yes. And then we have God is Just, and then the Mosaic Code, which is just shows how all of the laws and the how they would be written if they were in Americanized.
Can you see the whip scorpion?
Yeah, and then over there, the cage that these guys display cages these are in are tarantula cribs. Appreciate them for giving the cages, and then in there we also have our beautiful, although she's hiding. Whiptail scorpion, the vinegar rune. All right, so real quick, we'll go bring it back over to here. How are we doing on time before I start jumping into other stuff? Because I know I was supposed to go for.
We got probably 15 minutes.
Okay, is that what we have?
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll be able to fly through some Mormonism stuff on there. But all right, so next topic that we were talking about. But before that, let's quickly do a word from our sponsors. No, let's our supporters up there.
Yes.
Do a quick shout out if you want to take that away and do a shout out for our supporters.
So thank you to our sponsors for our Reformation Day. Thank you so much. Again, still nobody's wanting the party. I don't know why.
It's not the party type. So this is thank you to our supporters for this month.
And then for our cage stager, Mimi, thank you very much. And our indulgence subscriber, Carol.
Now we have different. Adrian worked really hard on our Patreon stuff, and of course, Adrian, being the comedian himself, he made these funny titles and names, and he put descriptions on each one. So if you want to check out our Patreon,
I'm still working on the benefits for the indulgences, but
it's not heaven. All right, you're not getting in that.
No,
way.
You're not decreasing any time in purgatory because one, it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So next topic. Let's go to some false prophecy from Joseph Smith.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, not fun, but fun to show. All right, so here's the thing. So in Doctrines and Covenants, okay, in chapter 84, verses 4 through 5, okay, they received a revelation of Jesus Christ. And it says, a revelation of Jesus Christ unto his servant Joseph Smith, June, and the 6 elders, as they united their hearts and lifted their voices on high. Yeah, the word of the Lord concerning his church, established in the last days for the restoration of his people. Here, you want another post-mill plug-in? Something to think about. Almost all the cults are pre-mill. All right, but here's the thing is, okay, in the last days for the restoration of his people, as he has spoken by the mouth of his prophets, and for the gathering of saints to stand upon Mount Zion, which shall be the city of the New Jerusalem, which city shall be built, beginning at the temple lot, which is appointed by the finger of the Lord in the western boundaries of the state of Missouri.
Ooh.
Hey! And dedicated. That's how wonderful Missouri is. Even the Mormons. Jesus himself told the Mormons that they're to be built here. All right, western boundaries of the state of Missouri, and dedicated by the hand of Joseph Smith, June, and the others, whom the Lord was well pleased. Verily, this is the word of the Lord, that the city New Jerusalem shall be built by the gathering of the saints, beginning at the place, even the place of the temple, which temple shall be reared in this generation. All right. For verily, this generation shall not pass away. Sounds familiar? Shall not pass away until an house shall be built unto the Lord, and a cloud shall rest upon it, which the cloud shall be built unto the Lord, and the cloud shall rest upon it, which cloud shall be even the glory of the Lord, which shall fill the house. That old English just beats me.
So when it says this generation, is it the audience that it's being written to right then and there, or is it talking about this generation in regard to what's coming up?
Let me tell you. All right,
As
so note.
A lot of amill and premill think this generation.
Note a couple of this stuff. Okay, note a couple of this stuff. All right, it says 1, the word of the Lord. Okay, so they're saying, as Joseph Smith is saying this, as a prophet, and we saw this. If you want to get ready for our have up so you can read Deuteronomy 18 down at the chapter 18 down at the bottom, because I'll have you read that out when you're ready. But here are some things to note. Okay, he says this is from the Lord, and we talked about this before in our
verse in 18?
Toward the bottom. It's like 20 or something. And so keep in mind, we talked about this before when we talked about the spiritual gifts, all right? That there's a set design for, God said, this is what you have to see when prophets. But Lord, what about false prophets? Well, here's what he says. Are you ready with that?
Yes.
Go ahead and read that.
Yes. Let me get the pretty split cam to make you happy. I don't know if you guys are happy about this or not, but anyway.
Curious.
So we'll start off in verse 20 of Deuteronomy 18. But the prophet who presumes to speak a word in my name that I have not commanded him to speak, or who speaks in the name of other gods, that same prophet shall die. And if you say in your heart, how may we know the word that the Lord has not spoken? So how are we going to know this? Please tell us. Verse 22, when a prophet speaks in the name of the Lord, if the word does not come to pass or come true, that is a word that the Lord has not spoken. The prophet has spoken
presumptuously?
Yes.
Sorry, I had that memorized.
The prophet has spoken presumptuously. You need not be afraid of him.
Right, and we talked about this before, too, that it also says that if a prophet leads you to a different God, then you don't even need to even consider his word.
So essentially with this, what is a standard in knowing what a true or false prophet is? It's not a matter of
how much they got right.
Yeah, it's a matter of if they get one wrong.
If they get anything wrong, then you know they're a false prophet. And that is the definition that is given to us by God.
Amen.
All right. So again, in God's law, come on, people. All right. So here's the thing: so 1, the word of the Lord. He said the word of the Lord. So he's saying this is from God. Okay.
Yes.
He heard from God. So boom. If he gets this wrong, what does that mean? What we just read. 2, he said, New Jerusalem shall be built in Missouri. Doubt.
Again,
3.
When did it say that it would happen?
All right, so the temple would be built in this generation, and I'll get to what that means, all right? Because fortunately for us, unfortunately for the Latter-day Saints, but fortunately for us, the Latter-day Saints' own people gave the definition of what that means.
Ooh.
All right, so, and 4, this generation would not pass. Okay, so it says the temple will be built in this generation, and then it says this generation would not pass until the temple is built and the glory of the Lord rests upon it. All right. This revelation was given September 22nd and 23rd of 1832.
All right, 1832.
So in September 22nd or 23rd in 1832. Adrian, what's the date today?
We're in 2023.
And April 23, 2023. We're a little off. All right, here's the thing, okay? And
when was that? 1823?
Yeah. That's 18.
200 years.
Yeah. they were only off by a little bit.
Well,
right.
Okay, so that generation.
Hold on. Here's the thing.
It's like Methuselah.
And before they say that it didn't actually mean this generation, just like our pre-mill and dispensational brothers and sisters try to say, it didn't mean this generation. All right. Latter-day Saints, you can definitely not make that argument, even though I don't believe that the pre-mill brothers and can make that claim either. But here's why. Because the Latter-day Saints writers and prophets and apostles believed that it was. You can look at the readings of some of these guys, Elder George Smith, Journal of Discourse, 310-1861. Elder George Cannon, Journal of Discourse in 1864. And all these chapters. The one before it was chapter 9, verses 71. And then you have chapter 10, verses 344 to look forward. And
who was that first Elder George in 1861?
Elder George Smith. He was one of the ones that believed in there. If I remember, I'll bring up the quotes later on. But and it was in chapter 9, 71. So these men who are and there's a couple more on there, but so you have, of course, Elder Orson Pratt talked about it too. So these men who were called apostles of Christ, who took the active leadership in the LDS church, understood Doctrines and Covenants 84, 4-5 in a way that they preached the temple would be built in Jackson County, Missouri, within the generation that was alive in 1832. And in case we're all still wondering about the meaning of the word, and so you can see that all those guys were talking about it. And now here before,
no, you're
what
fine.
was that?
I'm doing a search on. Yeah.
In case we're still wondering about the meaning of the word generation, all right, let me read what one of them said. And Bruce, I'm gonna butcher his name, so forgive me, Latter-day Saints. Keep in mind I'm Hawaiian, so English is tough. Bruce McCoy, McConkey, McConkey or IY or IE, and I can't read.
McConkey.
Yes. All right, so he says, here's what he says. Addresses the definition of it in his Mormon Doctrine, page 310. A generation may be measured in terms of the life of the oldest person who lived in a particular period. Okay? He specifically references Doctrine and Covenants 84, verses 4-5 in his definition. Okay? Now, one might say, what about the Doctrine and Covenants of chapter 124, verses 49-51, which is a revelation given after the Mormons were driven out from Missouri. Okay, so in case you're wondering, 200 years from now, they did not get to build the New Jerusalem or the temple, okay? They were actually driven out, because Missouri, we don't take no stuff like that. So the Mormons were actually driven out from Missouri. We're like, go do that stuff in Illinois. But here's the thing, okay? So then it didn't happen, okay? And all those guys were saying, oh, this is going to happen, this thing that they talked about, this all happening, this generation. Until all those guys were, and they were saying they were the last. They were like, I'm the last one, this is it. Didn't happen. Okay, they were driven out. And then, conveniently, all of a sudden they get a revelation from Jesus that says, oh, because of what happened, now that's why it's not going to be built there in that generation. Why didn't God say that was going to happen to originally, like he did to Moses? Hey, Moses, you're going to tell Pharaoh that he needs to let his people go, but I'm going to make sure he tells you no. Or, sorry, in case that offends people, the words that he says, so I don't paraphrase it, I will harden his heart so that he says no. Hey, Abraham, we're going to start out your covenant with these people. It's going to end up, before you get to the promised land, you're going to do 400 years of suffering. All right? God is normally clear of, hey, this is not going to happen if this is done. But apparently he wasn't clear to the Latter-day Saints about their temple being built. And that's a problem for the Latter-day Saints. Again, you have this generation. Now, it's easy for me to answer that one, because they go, well, you don't believe that when he said in the Oliver Discourse in Matthew 24, when he said it will happen this generation, you don't believe that's this generation. Yes, I do, because I believe that it's talking about the events of 70 AD. Game over. And I can consistently walk that out for them. They cannot. They have to try and redefine generation. And so because it didn't happen, they had to all of a sudden a revelation came up that was like oops, yeah, that didn't happen because the people there were wicked. Oh, he didn't know that the people were wicked over there? God was surprised? No. No. And that's a bad argument to make. But even if we did go off of that, that only proves that let's say, okay, we'll give you that one. We'll give you, let's say the revelation of it, that you believe that the revelation was given after. Okay. But then that's nothing like the Bible. We don't see that happening anywhere in the Bible. Okay, why? Because God controls the future. All right? He is sovereign over the events. That's why when Joseph's brothers, when they took Joseph into slavery and they were trying to kill him or whatever, what happened in the end in Genesis chapter 50, verse 20? Joseph said, you meant all these bad things that happened to me. Joseph said, you meant all these things for evil. The sold to slavery, the put there, and even the potter's wife, and falsely accusing him getting thrown into prison for how many years, and then all that going up, and all the famine on the land, all these bad things. Joseph said, you meant these things for evil, but God meant it, the evil, meant it for good.
Mm-hmm.
All right? Because God will use evil to even do his bidding. All right? The apostles believe that. We talked about this in the past before. All right? The apostles believe that, and talking in their prayer in Acts. He said, Pontius Pilate, Herod, the Gentiles, the Jews all came together against your Holy One, and they all did according to what your hand and what your plan had predestined to take place.
Mm-hmm.
All right? So you don't see, in the Latter-day Saints' view of prophecy, is nothing like God's in the Bible.
I found something from LDS website in regard to Nauvoo, Illinois.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where they were trying to build Zion there.
Oh, they did go to Illinois.
So it says here that
I'm like, take that garbage to Illinois, and they did.
So initially they were wanting to do it.
Shocker.
They were wanting to do it in Jackson County, Missouri.
But we don't take that stuff here.
But people basically kicked them out, and then they did a reattempt, and the U.S. government basically said no. The legal system, and then they let's see here. So then Joseph Smith and the Saints and what have you, they reestablished by the Commission of God. They reestablished over in Nauvoo, Illinois, or at least attempted. And then Joseph Smith taught that Zion, again, this is from LDS own website. Let's do this real quick. So this is from LDS own website. In Nauvoo, Joseph Smith taught that Zion consisted of all North and South America, adding that, in one sense, any place where the saints gather is Zion. He also emphasized the importance of the temple for Zion and the gathering, declaring that where we can get a temple built first, there is the place. So essentially his prophecy regarding Independence, Jackson County, Missouri, this generation, saying that
obviously he didn't trust God's plan.
No. So regarding Zion or New Jerusalem, same thing. Regarding that, it didn't come true. In fact, it was then started to be built in a totally different state.
Yeah, off. Sorry.
So what about that prophecy, folks? What about that prophecy?
Well, it's nothing like the Bible.
No.
And so what does the Bible say? That you shall not fear that prophet or listen to him.
Right.
Sorry, Latter-day Saints, you need to repent and you need to leave that false religion. All right, so how are we on time? Need to wrap it up? What are we at?
Yeah, we can wrap it up if you got
right.
something final for like 5 minutes.
No, we're gonna go into more than that. I was just the only other thing is the man on the moon with the Latter-day Saints is there also was teaching that there was people on the moon, and guess what happened? Then somebody was sent to the moon, and there was no Latter-day Saints on the moon.
It could have been on the other side.
Yeah, on the dark side of the moon.
Yeah, like the Transformers movie.
There's hope for you guys yet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that said, we'll end there.
Even if the Mormons aren't on the moon, there's definitely spacecraft from Transformers on the dark side of the moon for certain.
Well, that's more believable than the Latter-day Saints way of it.
I mean, it's on. We got recorded evidence. That's a documentary. That's not a movie. That's
just as believable. All right. So again, thank you guys so much. Let's do a quick another shout out to our supporters again.
Again, thank you so much.
Appreciate those guys.
Thank you so much to Mimi, our only cage stager. Come on, folks. Let's get into that cage stage. And then Indulgence says, again, that does not decrease any amount of time in purgatory. One, it doesn't exist. You can't buy your way into heaven, neither for yourself or for your relatives. So, Carol, keep that in mind. But again, still, thank you just as much. Much appreciated to everyone who supports us financially, emotionally, through prayers, through just words of encouragement. So you guys are awesome.
And then also let's give a shout out to our lovely creature we have here that was created by God for his glory and our enjoyment.
And again, this creature is not a creature that needs to uphold to any type of moral oughts.
The vinegar rune. Beautiful.
It's there on the left.
The whip scorpion.
Yes.
All right. So yeah, there's the more books that you guys. We already talked about the books and stuff like that. So I ain't gonna keep you guys any longer.
Nope.
We appreciate you guys. I'm ready for dinner. Adrian's ready to go fix his beard some more. I don't know what he does on his spare time. He reads and grows a beard.
Yes. So again, we're on Patreon. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook, Twitter. TikTok, we're working on doing some more shorts on TikTok to get more engagement. We like hearing from people on that. So if you,
sorry, I've been failing on that.
Yeah, so if you want to email us, reformlabs@gmail.com. If you want to message us, yes. If you send it privately, we will not mention your name, but if you do public. And
also, we might be able to, because we were just asked by Pastor Brian, to possibly do an interview to have some of the guys on there that has been helping push for the SB 356.
Yeah, 356. Yeah, 356. Yep.
So maybe what day is that? So May
3rd.
Maybe we can roll that out and we'll take a drive down.
Is it May 3rd? For some reason, I'm thinking May 21st.
No, it's May 3rd.
Okay, May 3rd.
May 3rd at 9:30 a.m.
Yes.
Be on the lookout for that. I bumped my mic, so I don't know if I sound weird and stuff.
No, you're fine.
Okay. So let's see our calendar.
Yes.
We might actually be able to get that interview in, because that'd be cool if you guys wanted to hear them talk about more and what you need. Because also our goal is, and if you guys know any churches in Illinois, go out and speak to them and say, hey, there's people. We have an organization that abolished abortion in Missouri. I think it's let me look that up real quick because I don't want to get it wrong. If you look up AAMO, abolish abortion in Missouri, Google them, look that up. If not, hopefully we'll get that interview to get you guys more information. But our goal is, once we do this here, we want that done in the other states as well.
Yes.
So we need churches who are going to be bold and willing to go and preach to their senators and say, hey, you need to uphold God's law, because here's what he says. And Lord willing, because what happens is God is merciful, and he does these things by the preaching of his word to establish his law in all the nations, as he says. So let's get out there and do that. Thank you guys. So,
yes, thank you so much.
Say,
again, comment, like, share.
Yesu poo. God be with you. Jesus be with you.
Yes.
See you guys next time.
Tell your friends how silly we are, even if you disagree. So you guys have a great night. Bye-bye.